Hello. I just got back to the US last night. More like yesterday afternoon, and it's the next afternoon. And I want to get back on track. Feel like I have not worked on my project in such a long time. Actually, even though I did like a little bit here and there last week, but I haven't actually I don't know, I just feel like I haven't made progress in like 2 weeks. So I want to get back to it. I'm about to make myself a coffee, but I wanted the reason I even though I was gonna film a video, actually the reason I ended up pulling out my camera is because I wanted to record this moment. The moment I ate my last banana candy left from Brazil. I hate them too fast. And now this is my last one. Cheers. I came back home with I would say renewed energy for life. And I reflected a lot on my trip. And things are kind of just closing out right now. My energy is kind of in a lot of places at once, actually, right now. I feel like I came home just I want to attack everything. I want to change my whole entire life in a month. And it's first of all, it's a little extreme, but I just feel like I just want to attack everything and just okay, change everything. I want everything to be, I don't know, I just feel like I came back to that energy. On the other hand, I'm okay, I came back in a different energy, which is I need to stop expecting myself to be perfect at everything, because I was kind of attacking myself for my mistakes a lot. And I feel like I came back in the house, I was attacking myself for all these mistakes. I don't know, my energy is just everywhere right now. I'm I kind of want to get some rest from my trip and mentally recover, just be okay, this was a lot. And I feel like my nervous system has been kind of in need of a little break. On the other hand, I'm I would feel so much better, and this is my constant conflict. I'm I would relax so much better if I just got even more stuff out of the way, and I just want to feel on top of everything. I'm you should take a break because you've been traveling and stuff, and take a day to recover. I don't know, it's just a lot. I also was working on a paper, my last real paper for school before my dissertation is due, and it was actually it's very close to done. I genuinely just need to edit it and stuff. And I was gonna turn it in because it was done and it would have been in on time. I was gonna submit it between my flight from Rio to Rome and then Rome to London. I was gonna submit it in Rome, and I was all prepped to do so and stuff. I was okay, perfect. My flight got delayed, so my flight got pushed forward a few hours, and it threw the whole schedule off, because I would have been home by 9, and then I would have been okay, so I'm gonna finish the paper. But the way it got thrown off, I basically it was my last hour before the paper was due, and I worked on it the whole plane ride, and I've put a lot of hours randomly into this paper, which I was oh, this paper doesn't matter, I'm just gonna randomly submit it. But I randomly ended up getting a little bit invested, and I just I threw a lot of, I basically worked on it the whole plane ride. But the point is that it's pretty much done, and it's really annoying because it would have been submitted in that period of time However, I was so depleted by the time I got off the plane because it was like the way the timing changed. I was so tired and so depleted, and I was like, I just don't have the energy to do this right now, even though it would take like the most minimal effort. Like, it was basically all done. So I got my one and only extension of my whole year. So I actually have like 4 more days to work on it, which I don't even need that much. It would genuinely take like 2 hours. So I'm kind of like, okay, do I finish it right now and then it's done? Do I like give my body a break? I've been really tired. So I thought that I would do like a bit of everything and do like a Pomodoro timer right now. And then in the midst of that, maybe get my project like a little bit back up and running, because I just feel like I lost momentum a little bit, and I felt it's good because I think I'll come back to it with new energy. It's like, everything is like, it's funny, everything is like the final countdown. It's like the last piece of it all, and I just feel a little bit like, okay, this is what we're doing now. So I don't know, I just feel like I'm like, I need to get in that energy. So I don't know, I feel like my soul always, like, for some reason I always hit the bumps and always struggle the most right at the part where it's like, okay, you're about to submit it, or like it's about to be done. For some reason, that's when things get rocky, and then I feel like I get like a little bit like, oh my god, okay, this is gonna be done now. It's also my final paper for master's, so I was like, oh my god, my master's is over, and like whole new era. And even though I don't consciously like avoid it, I feel like my soul avoids the last chapter a little bit, or my soul like, it's like, well, everything's about to change right now, and I'm just gonna be in like a whole new energy for life. So yeah, I feel like that's where we are right now, and I'm just nervous. And I just see stuff changing around me. My video editing skills have started to upgrade. I feel like the quality of what I'm producing is starting to upgrade. I just feel like I see, like, you know where you see it's like, oh my god, it's like things are elevating, and that means a new chapter of my life is approaching. And I've just been kind of like excited but also nervous and stuff. And it's the last 3 months of my solo return. 3 months till my birthday. I don't know, I just feel like everything's like, oh my god, okay. This project is like, I can't believe this is about to be done as well. This was like a whole entire pipe dream. I was like, this isn't gonna happen. Like, this is insanity, and there's just zero way that this is happening. And now it's like hardcore, like, yes, I am finishing it within the next month and a half because I have to submit it for my school project. So it's like, it will be done. And I don't know, that's just throwing me off because this is genuinely the biggest dream I ever had, was to do this paper and to do this project. And it's like my biggest dream. First of all, this is the biggest achievement of my life so far, because the amount of follow through, the amount of like learning, the amount of everything. I'm like, what? I had to do all this. This is insane. And I just feel like it's genuinely the biggest thing I've ever done in my life. And all of these things I've done right now, these are like, it's kind of like everything that I planned for, it's coming to a close. Like everything I planned for in London, and I've just been looking at this next era like, whoa, what's my life gonna become after this? I don't even know. It's kind of scary, like, what? There's just gonna be this blank space of like, where is this going now? And yeah, I've just been a little nervous and excited, and like also discombobulated, like, okay, I have to do a lot of things as well about my own life, and like thinking about where my life is going. I don't know, it's just been very nerve-wracking. So yeah, that's basically where I've been. And that's why I think I came back in like kind of a crazy energy of like, whoa, I want to be perfect. I'm excited. I want to get everything done. Also, I need to stop being perfect. I need to rest. I need to do this. It's like, oh my god, it's a lot. It's a lot going on in my head right now. Okay, so I guess now I'm going to stop procrastinating. I'm going to drink my coffee, and I think I'm going to try to set up things to make like a Pomodoro kind of session moment situation. I want to share one random piece of wisdom from my trip that I was like, I don't know where to put this. I write little Substack diaries every week of this project, and I was gonna throw it in there, but I was like, it just feels like it's getting cluttered and it's just not necessary. But I don't know, this stuck with me, so I wanted to share it as I go on my like, do I aim to be perfect, or do I stop expecting perfection of myself so I don't randomly hate myself journey. So my mom and I, so she had to get me an Uber for my trip to the airport, and we had this Uber ride with this guy. It was a perfectly normal Uber ride. Nothing crazy happened. And basically when like the little ratings popped up, for some reason, I don't know if this is a Brazilian Uber thing or they changed the rating system. Instead of 5 stars, like, you know, usually give them 5 stars, it was like 7 stars came up. And my mom was like, why is it 7 stars? And she just like, she chose 5, like she gave him 5 stars. Cause like, she was like, what does this mean? And anyways, but I imagined the Uber driver being like, I felt bad because I was like, no, now he's gonna think that he did something wrong, or like we weren't like 100% satisfied with the Uber ride. And I just imagined him ruminating on it and like, what was the thing that set her off? What made her give me like less stars, essentially? I don't know why that healed something in me, because that's the kind of thing that I would ruminate about, and I'd be like, what did I do? Like, I need to think about this. I need to fix, like, what did I do to like not receive the full star rating? But the funny thing is that my mom, like, it wasn't because he didn't give us like a perfectly normal Uber drive. I think that she just like didn't understand how the rating system worked and why on earth there was 7 stars. So she tried to give him like full marks, and she ended up giving him like a lower mark. And I thought about that and I was like, you know what? Sometimes people are gonna kind of like, it's like, just because it had me thinking about my grades and how actually, like, by the end my grades were fine, but there was one paper on the trip and I'm a little confused on whether it's the official grade or not, that I thought I was gonna do really good on, and I weirdly got a really, really low grade, and I was like, what? And I was ruminating about it the whole day and just being like, what did I do? Like, what part of it did I mess up? And it just made me think of that, and I was like, sometimes people, like, you don't really know what the background of like why people are doing that, or why people like, why'd you get that grade, or why'd you get a low rating. It's like sometimes, like, genuinely, it's like it doesn't have anything to do with you, and it's just like randomness and stuff like that. I don't know, I feel like that just sat with me. I feel like that just stayed with me, and I was just like, oh, I just like, I put too much stake in the fact that like I've done something wrong, or that sometimes things are just random, or like there's a background reason as to why that happened that really doesn't have anything to do with you. So anyways, okay, that was really random, but I just had nowhere to put that, and I feel like for some reason that really shifted something in me, so I wanted to say it. So we're gonna start the Pomodoro session. Planner was really working for me like before I left for the trip, so I'm gonna use it again, and I'm gonna talk about all the things that I need to do for this project still. I want to discuss my random Google Chrome background because it makes me look kind of like I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why my Google Chrome background is a random anime girl. I don't. And my mom, she pointed it out to me when I was in Rio, when she was like, "Why is this your background?" I was like, I don't know. I may have set that when I was like in middle school and I was like obsessed with anime. And I think I may have just never changed it or something, but I don't know why I would make it this random girl. I don't know, but yeah, I just basically didn't get as much done for my project as I wanted to over my trip, but I gave myself permission for that because I had my paperwork on and I wanted to see my mom, like, obviously, so I didn't really work on it at all. Even though I wanted to come back and be like, oh, I'm in a whole new phase because I did all this in Brazil and like now I don't have to do anymore. But it's like it just didn't work out that way, and that's okay. We're gonna rename this. I love, like, I don't know, something about giving my life some kind of random theme. It just keeps me locked in. I mentioned in my last video that I always do that in my planner. I always make some kind of random like main character theme or like story arc of like my week, because for some reason I feel like it just keeps me focused and excited. So I do recommend that. It's just so much more engaging than like to-do list this week. No, we're leveling up. You get me? We're leveling up this week. Actually, I like this one. This one's nice. So we're gonna level up. That's gonna be my theme of the week for this coming week in my planner as well. I was thinking, I've been reflecting on this a lot this year. My biggest perfectionist vice, and I think this is why I never feel like I'm doing enough and I never feel good enough and all this stuff, is that I project perfection onto like everybody in the world. To me, like, for example, everybody in my master's program to me is like a mega genius who's been getting like super duper grades on like everything, and like they're all like, you know what I mean, they're like stellar students. That's what I project on everybody. So to me, when I've been getting my medium to like low grades for, I mean, honestly, my grades now have picked up, they've been fine, but for the beginning of the year I was making like kind of like lowish medium grades, like not that good. And I think that impacted me more because I'm like, to me, everybody in my program is so like locked in, organized, on top of their stuff. Like they are like there. And I wasn't going to class that much first semester. So I was like, that was how I was envisioning everybody. I'm like, everybody's so locked in and I'm a flop. And then I went to class second semester
And like it gave me a different vision. I think because I wasn't speaking to people enough, like normally like you would speak to like your friends and your friends would be like, "Oh, I hate school," or like, "Oh, I didn't do that good this week," or you know what I mean? So then you have like that it's like it's almost good to compare yourself in that context of like that like okay, what's the norm? But because I wasn't speaking to people, I was like everybody's perfectly on class and like all this stuff. I remember going to class and I spoke to this girl and we were trying to figure out like this one random like thing in our qualitative analysis class. And I was like, I thought everybody was like, they've all done all of the readings and they're like obsessed with it. You know what I'm saying? And so I felt really bad because I wasn't really that focused. Like I was thinking about my stuff. And so when came time to do like the group kind of thing, I was like, I was like, oh, everybody probably knows this really well, and I'm about to look really stupid. And then when it came time, they're like, wait, does anybody understand this? Was anybody paying attention? And okay, not this is not across the board. I think people were just having an off day, but I was just like, nobody really understood that much, or like some people did. I think some people did the reading, but then this healed me so much. This one girl was like, honestly, I've only come to this class like 3 times all semester, and I was like, thank you, Lord, thank you. Everybody's not perfect. I'm like, thank you, because I was such a flop for semester. Like I was really awful. I mean, I was working on my project, so I was like really like, you know what I mean? But in my head, I'm like, everybody is like so perfect at this, and I like suck really bad. And that was really impacting me a lot because I felt so embarrassed. Like I think that like also stopped me from coming to class more because once I had a little bit of like a downward spiral for semester because I had like my visa came late, so I started a week late. I couldn't find my classes. I didn't know anybody because of that, because I like kind of missed out. And I just feel like it was a bumpy ride for a semester. And I think I also started to feel I was really stressed out and I was also overwhelmed. So I just was like, I think I just skipped too much class for semester. And then second semester I did go and it like I think it showed me a lot better. I was like, okay, everybody's not like perfect at this. Like everybody's just trying their best. So I was like, okay. But yeah, I think like to me, everybody except me is like perfect. To me, like for example, like just the most random person in existence, I'm like, they're the cleanest person ever, super focused, super on top of their stuff. They never fail at anything. Like that's how I see other people. And I forget that like other people also like have failures and issues. I don't know why I do this. It's so insane. So then when I look at my own, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not perfect at everything under the sun. Even when I'm doing really good at one thing, I'm like, okay, this other thing, like I'm kind of flopping at that. And my honestly, my house is not, it's been relatively clean all year. I mean, it's not like horribly messy, but it's not perfectly clean. You get me? It's like cluttered and like I have stuff I need to work on that, but I've been really focused on like I've it's been the craziest year of my life. I think this is the busiest I've ever been. And I have to remind myself that like to me everybody is the most like like clean talk where people are like they have like a closet full of all the products and they're doing like they're literally deep cleaning like crazy stuff. Like they're deep cleaning like the most random corners of their house and like bleaching everything. I'm like that's how everybody is to me. Like everybody is a professional cleaner slash professional student slash like everything, and I just suck. And it's like that is just not true. And it's so dumb and I always do that. And I've been trying to remind myself and like get more perspective and honestly notice people's mistakes, but in a good way, where I'm like, oh, everybody's not perfectly clean. Like I've been reminding myself of other people's mistakes to help like balance myself out, where I'm like, okay, that's fine that I'm not perfect at everything because nobody is. But to me, everybody is like, I'm like, wow, everybody is perfect. I just suck so bad at like, why can't I just be like the most, like everything is on top of everything? You know what I mean? It's like, it's awful, but even at work actually helps me sometimes because to me, my bosses, I'm like, they are 24/7 slaving away at this job and at their computer. And like, sometimes they're honestly not. Like, sometimes I'm like, they'll be like, oh, so and so person has gotten really behind because they've been like busy or they've been doing this. And I'm like, okay, everybody is not like being like literally like top CEO, like running a like Fortune 500 company at my job either. And it makes me feel better because I'm like, okay, sometimes I'm really not. And I feel awful. But yeah, I think I just put so much pressure on myself. It's like it's just not necessary. It's so dumb. But yeah, that's kind of my next adventure is just working on that because I'm so bad. That's why I'm like knee deep in this project because I'm like nothing is good enough. this project is a flop. I suck at writing and like everything where it's like I think it's probably better than I think. But like I remember when I talked to my supervisor and I was trying to figure out, I was like, none of this is good. And like this is like, how am I ever gonna make this quality enough to like meet the level of what I need? And he was like, oh, you could just do like this one minuscule element of my project and like that's enough. And I was like, what? I've been like reading like countless neuroscience papers and all this stuff. See, it's the worst. I need to stop doing that. And like torturing myself endlessly for nothing is just so unnecessary. But yeah, I will continue to do it though. I'll do it probably until this project is done because I'm already like, this is not okay. And I think it's probably better than I think. And on that note, I need to fix the metrics. See, the metrics, that's one place I'm like, my model is not operating perfectly. Like, there's issues. I'm like, what if this issue is like a massive issue? And I don't know that it's a massive issue, but I think it's gonna be okay. I'm stressing myself out just talking about it. This is one thing where I'm like, I didn't need to do this. I didn't need to sparsely code it for my project. But I was like, it needs to be because it needs to. When I do it in the combo, it kind of needs to be sparsely coded. I was like, it's more biologically realistic. So I'm gonna do it sparsely coded, but I didn't need to do that. To be honest, I didn't need to do half the things that I did. So I think I'm doing better than I think right now. That's why I'm so sensitive though. Sometimes I've been getting less sensitive as I've gotten older, but sometimes I take criticism to heart so bad because I put really high expectations on myself. So I feel like when I flop, I'm like, I suck, but I don't suck. Criticism will always be a part of life. I've been trying to remember that as well. Also, this is the other one that I feel like I'm wait, let me write it down. I need to get my numbers for my sparsely coded model. I need to fix the metrics. There's one that I there's one thing that needs to be fixed there, particularly for one that I already got the numbers, but I need to get one more number. And the other thing I need to do for my project, what else do I need to do? When I was in Brazil, I finished reading 2 different chapters on how the math in a Hopfield network. So I want to actually like I want to investigate the weight. The math is actually easier than you would expect. There's nothing crazy. It's all just multiplying and adding. It's just that I need to wrap my head around it a little bit because I just read it on the fly. I was reading when I was finishing this chapter, I was like, why can't I understand this right now? And I was like a little bit annoyed. In my defense, there was like a whole freaking festival. Like the minute I started reading, it was like this whole like it was I went to Brazil, it was Festa Junina, which is like a yearly kind of party, like month of different parties for different saints and things. And we do this thing called Bumba Meu Boy, which is like this little like it looks like a cow and somebody goes under it and they like run around and they dance. And a whole freaking Boomba Mill Boy like little thing and like all these different people came in and started doing like dances and playing the drums and I was like, why am I not understanding the math right now? It's like this is there's insanity going on. Like I don't understand anything because it's too loud. The other one I was gonna say is that oh my gosh, I'm so on myself about like responsibility. Like I always feel like I'm being so irresponsible. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm spending too much money or like this and this and that. And then I talked to my sister about this the other day and we were like talking about this where it's like my sister and I both have limited money. I don't get any money from my parents at all. Like obviously like I just live my life. I pay all my bills, I pay all my everything. So like I was like, okay, so I always feel a little bit broke and because I'm always a little bit broke, I'm always like on myself about my financial habits and stuff, even though like I don't really buy that much stuff ever. All these different things. And I'm like, I always feel like the most irresponsible person ever. But then when I actually speak, I think especially these last few years, my first few adulting years have been very solitary. I get on myself a lot, even though like I feel like I'm not comparing myself to other people my age that much because I'm not interacting with them as much. And when I actually look around at like this is no offense. This was just like my life, but I feel like sometimes I look around at other people and I'm like, "Oh, I'm actually a pretty mature person." And I feel like I actually like okay, I pay all my bills on time. I pay all my bills. I pay my own rent. I pay for all my groceries. I do cook at home. All this different stuff where I'm like I get really on myself sometimes where I'm like I'm lazy. I want to order a pizza and just things like that, but it's like I feel like really irresponsible. But then when I look around, I'm like, I'm actually not bad. I feel like sometimes I'm just really like, you know what I mean? Where it's like sometimes you just get in your own head. And I actually, when I take a look around, I'm like, I put expectations on myself that are so beyond anybody else's. And then like when things are going wrong, I always like blame it to my I'm like, oh, I'm so irresponsible. Where it's like it's not your responsibility. There's just like everybody makes mistakes. Like I dropped a $20 bill in the airplane. In the airport, I was so mad because I was gonna use that 20 to buy something fun in the airport, and I dropped it. And I'm like, I think this also came. Why is the therapy session right now? I'm just gonna get into the therapy before I go, and like there's nothing to talk about with this video. But I was like, I feel like this is an ADHD thing too, and I'm a very responsible, on top of my stuff, ADHD person. But before I had an ADHD diagnosis, and even in the first few years, I think my self esteem was already corrupted. And I've spoken about that a lot. I think that it really corrupts your self esteem to like not have that diagnosis. And then also just like the stigma against ADHD, where to me, I'm like, I assume that I'm the most irresponsible person on earth. So like I pick up my mistakes so much. I dropped a $20 bill in the airport. And I was like, I was like, you are so financially irresponsible. I was like, I had a deep pocket. Okay. I put a 20 in my pocket. And I'm like, why would you put that in your pocket? Why would you not think to put it in your bag where it would be more secure? And now you dropped the $20 bill. Now you have $20 less. So now you're broke. And I'm like, I was so mad at myself. And I'm like, everybody on earth drops money from time to time. Like it just happens to everybody. Like it does. And it's like, I'm always like, I think because also, when you're young and you're undiagnosed with ADHD, sometimes I feel like people are a little hard on you because they don't know like the complexity of your situation, and you kind of make more mistakes than the average person sometimes because of like that issue. And I just feel like, to me, every mistake that I made, I genuinely think that's a root of my perfectionism, no lie, was my undiagnosed ADHD, because I had a lot of situations where I was younger where like teachers would get really mad at me for stuff, or like, oh, you made this mistake, or you got this mess, or like I just feel like people picked on my mistakes sometimes, and I internalized like, okay, I'm like, why is this a therapy session? I was like, I'm so messy, I'm so this, I'm so that. Whereas like every mistake that I make now, like I really take it so personally, where I'm like, I expect perfection of myself. And I think that's why like I also expected everyone around me to be perfect. If you have ADHD and you relate to this, please comment so I don't feel insane. But I'm like, I feel like the perfectionism is insane because I'm like, people treat it like neurotypical people are like the most perfect people in existence. They make no mistakes. They're on top of their stuff 24/7 and all this stuff. So when I was trying to get better in my ADHD, I was like, I feel like I compared myself to like what I thought a neurotypical person was, which is a perfect person, versus me, like a messed up person. Do you get me? And I'm like, when I do stuff like I drop a $20 bill, I'm like, you are so irresponsible and awful, where it's like, it's okay. Like everybody makes mistakes. But anyway, so I'm just gonna like, let's just finish though. Yeah. Honestly, this is funny because I feel like in a roundabout way, my ADHD made me like a crazy academic weapon, because I'm like, you must be perfect or you are horrible and you are on an ADHD spiral. So I'm like, I must be the most perfect person in existence. But anyways, I have my citations, get the last paper, and this is how I'm operating now is how neurotypical people operate in my head. Do you get what I'm saying? Where I'm like, everything that they do is perfect, and they are the most like literally they are like they can like take on the world. They are the most like powerful people on earth to me. Where I was like, no, they're not. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna go and do this. I'm gonna show my one little like academic like weapon tool secret that I always use. This is like my favorite. These keep me so focused. Okay, as this loads, also the other thing about being ADHD, and this is that the ADHD people can also be incredibly hardworking and disciplined and consistent in everything, as you can see. But I feel like this is also one of the reasons that I work really hard as well, in like a negative sense, is to me, I'm like, if you don't work 24/7, like you are going to fail. And I feel like I have a hard time relaxing because I'm like, okay, relaxation could also be executive dysfunction, like in my head. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I have such a mess up relationship to productivity, I feel like, because of my ADHD, where it's like, I don't even know, it's crazy. But, anyways, these are my favorite. I actually have this playlist public on my YouTube, I think. I just called it favorite study aids, but I always watch these. They're basically, most of these are just these little like ambiance Pomodoro timers. I swear, like these have gotten me through like so much and they get me so locked in, but they're just like a Pomodoro timer, but you do it with like your favorite character. And my favorite ones are the Rory Gilmore ones. And then I love this little Elle Woods one. It's so much fun. And I just feel like they're really engaging. for a Pomodoro timer. I also, this one is kind of fun too. When I was in high school, I really liked listening to, there's like a little, I'm gonna link it below, but there's a website where you can find little ambiances that people make, like, oh, like the Hogwarts, like common, like Hufflepuff common room and stuff like that. And I liked to imagine that like I was there and I would like, I'm like, yeah, I'm studying in like the Hogwarts common room and stuff. But you can see I put one here that's like I think it's like the Ravenclaw like room study in Hogwarts. I really like those a lot. I really like this one as well. It's like Iron Man's lab. It's so much fun. And then yeah, this one is not a Pomodoro, but this one is also, this is like audio Adderall. Like I don't know how to put it, but this one like it's really really like it's really good for focusing if you've got headphones. It's really good. So I'm just gonna throw on a Pomodoro, and I think I'm gonna start with my paper. So there's really nothing to say about that.
All right, so I did about 2 Pomodoro rounds and worked on my paper a little bit. It's definitely not done at all. Well, it's not actually that far off. I keep saying that. I'm actually already over the word count. I just need to like trim it down. But I want to get started on my project. I'm a little bit lazy. This is the thing is that, do you know how like neurodivergent people famously like they'll be sitting in the most random position you ever saw? Like they'll be like, I don't know, like they'll be in a chair, but like they'll have like their leg over the arm and they're like sitting kind of weird. I have that, but like with my study environment, it's so fine tuned. And I feel like I just have to follow like my body every day wants the most random study environment. So like for example, one time I went out and I was like, okay, I'm gonna shop at a coffee shop today. I'm gonna study at a coffee shop today. And I had been going on a round of studying at Costa because Costa was very like corporate neutral. And I was like, I feel like I need that right now. Costa, for some reason, it's like a good study environment for me. But then I was like, no, I feel like I've gone to Costa too many days in a row. So I do need a coffee shop, but I feel like if I go to Costa right now, then it's like the dopamine hit won't be enough. So I need to find a new environment. So I'll just be in the most random, like every day I'll just have like this random niche environment that I need to be productive. And today it's like my brain is itching to have the TV on, but my Xbox remote is broken, so I can't get like something running in the background. So I'm really kind of having a bad study day today, but I'm still gonna try to salvage it. And I'm gonna use a hack, and that hack is that you have to act nonchalant. Okay, so I'm like, this is how I can hack my brain. I'm like, right now to me, my brain is like just putting that one metric on your little thing is like it's the biggest deal in the world, even though it's not. I'm like, I have to act nonchalant. My sister and I used to do this crazy thing when we were younger, and we'd get annoyed that the computer was too slow. So we'd be like, we'd start chanting and like taunting it. And we thought that if we taunted it and if we made it feel stupid, that it would go faster. So we'd just sit there and chant like slow computer. And we would just like taunt the computer. And obviously that probably did nothing. But on the other hand, sometimes I would like pretend I didn't like the computer anymore. I was like, I don't even care. So I was like, I need to be nonchalant and I need to pretend like this is the most boring and lame thing in the world. I can be like, my metrics are so freaking stupid and annoying and like who cares? So I'm about to do that and just be like, yeah, this is so nonchalant. Like I'm just gonna casually do this really quick. Probably after I go for a walk, and hopefully that will get me over my hump because I think I'm having a little productivity slump, but it's also my first day back from my trip, so it's a little justified. All right. I just worked for a straight hour and spoke, and none of it got recorded. So I'm just gonna update. Like, I guess you didn't need to see my hard work. Okay, so I'm gonna work backwards here in terms of like what I'm showing. Basically, I wanted to fix one of my metrics, but unfortunately it wasn't working. Wait a minute, we're in the wrong place here anyways. I need to move this. But yeah, I just got this written like essentially for my sparsely coded one. So when I'm getting the metrics, like it's very, there's nothing to show. Like I'm just copy pasting. So I'm probably going to be copy pasting in my little metrics into my, what's it called, spreadsheet for a little bit. I need to clean like everything up. I need to organize like all of my stuff. That's what we're talking about next every year after. Yeah, I'm basically going to be fixing that. Dude, that sucks. I had the most interesting conversation. I was doing the most insane unpacking of my whole entire freaking brain, and also the neuroscience of everything I'm doing. Like I was like talking about it, but I'm not going to say all that again unless it naturally comes up again. Do I summarize? I was basically talking about the little like one of the things I want to write about in my discussion section is essentially how I want to basically how I think there's like a genetic component to psychopathology that is probably just differences in how people process arousal and like kind of generate arousal in their brain. And I was talking about all the different brain parts. I was talking about the locus coeruleus. I was saying maybe the medial septum, even though I don't super understand what the medial septum does yet, because I haven't, it's like, it's not been a big thing in my research yet, but I was just like, I was going through it. The reason I was going through this list, I was talking, quick summary. I was talking about how my memory, like I've been realizing that I have really good memory. I don't remember why I was mentioning this, but I was mentioning my memory. I said I've always had really good sense of direction. Essentially, like I can go out on a walk and walk somewhere really random one time and then find my way back. Like I never get lost. And like I always like sometimes like even when I was out with my mom in Brazil, we went for a walk and then I was like, "Oh, I think it's she was trying to get us back, but I was telling her the directions because I was like, yeah, this was all more entertaining the first time around. Basically, I was talking about that, and I was talking about how I was thinking before I took a nap today. I was like, I think my brain makes really, you know what? Is this even interesting? I was saying how I feel like my brain makes really strong associations. I was saying I always struggled with intrusive thoughts as a child. Like when I was, ever since I was a kid, I would struggle with intrusive thoughts. And I was saying how right before I took a nap, I was basically reflecting on how I feel like because I make really strong associations with things, like I have really good memory. Like my sister says walking with me is like walking with a time capsule because like last time she came to visit me, we were out on a walk in London and it was like a cloudy morning. Like I don't know, something hit me like some whiff of air and I was like I got like the most old childhood memory from when I was like 5 years old when we lived in Peru. I was like, Julia, this is exactly like you wouldn't remember because she was like 2 years old, but I was like, this is like literally exactly how it was in Lima when we lived there and stuff like that. And I was like, and she's always like, I'm always reminiscing. Like she'll be like, have you noticed every time that we're out, you mention the most random memory? And I'm like, oh, I guess I do. But I feel like I make really strong associations. And then I was talking about how I feel like maybe because I make those really strong and random associations, that's also why I struggle with intrusive thoughts. I went into so many different things. I went into the neuroscience of OCD and how I think OCD works, and how basically I was like, I think that arousal, because dissociative absorption is also linked with OCD, and I was talking about that and how I think that like probably it's the same. You know what? It doesn't matter. Anyways, I guess it wasn't meant to be, but I was having a whole entire exploration of the concept of arousal and how I was like, I feel like I always had that tendency when I was younger to have like, the thing is that what I'm learning in my study is that strong arousal makes the best memories. I was like, I used to always, especially when I was dealing with trauma, like when I would study, I would get like way too hyped up. Like I'd be like, I don't know, it was like I was just really, really hyped up always when I was studying. And I feel like that's why I make good memories because information like it just sticks with me. Like I was saying how I read papers for my this paper that I'm reading for this paper that I'm writing for my final class for masters. And I was like I read this paper like a few days ago now. Like 2 days ago I read it one time. I was walking around and I was listing like the different things that it said. I was like the different like mental health impacts of loneliness or like health impacts like increased risk of dementia, elevated risk of stroke, elevated blood pressure. And like, I just like stuff like that just really sticks in my brain. And I was thinking about that. But I was like, that's probably like also a difference in how I process arousal and how maybe arousal works with my hippocampus. And like, I don't know, I was just having this whole little exploration of how my own brain works. But I was like, that's probably also why I developed the dissociative disorder when I went through trauma, because that's how my unique individual difference of like how my genetics and how arousal works in my brain probably interacted with a really arousing situation is that it already has that tendency to be really like hyped up about stuff and excited, and it probably just was like, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's interesting how different people have really different reactions to, for example, even something like trauma that go down to genetic differences and social difference and cultural differences. You know, some people I developed dissociative amnesia. Some people instead might like develop an alcoholism problem. They might not forget things per se, but they might, I don't know, drown it out 24/7, or people just have different they have different tendencies of how they cope with adverse situations, which I find really interesting. But yeah, I was just talking about that and how it coincided with my paper because I'm going to mention how I think that basically how people process arousal is probably a very important, like how different brain parts that process arousal are actually sort of, I don't know, build or function or whatever, probably really shapes the way that we develop psychopathologies. And that some people might have more of a tendency towards things like dissociative processes because maybe they like the acetylcholine like really gets strongly like up and up and up or something like that. And because of that, they develop things like dissociative, they have dissociative absorption kind of tendencies, and that leads to all sorts of different psychopathologies. Okay, that's my summary basically. So I'm just going to be getting the metrics now. And this is the other thing I talked about actually. I was talking about how I was going to watch my show and how for some reason I'm always watching these little romantic comedy shows. And yeah, I just recently started watching this show every year after. Unfortunately, I'm broke, which I didn't realize that my thing didn't go through. So I guess I was like, I'll figure out my way to watch it if I can. But this is what I started watching it yesterday, and today Prime was like, no. So that's really unfortunate. However, okay, I'm saying this from like the most apolitical standpoint, even though, I am a political person and like this is a little bit political or like whatever, but I'm not even today, we're not even coming at it from that perspective. We're coming at it from a place of choice. Okay. No offense to these people. No offense to these people, but I was actually like my smile dropped off my face when I started watching the show, and these are the two main characters. Not because they're not very attractive men, but because every one of these rom-com shows always has two basic white guys, and that's not to say that they're not very attractive people. Okay, they are very attractive. They're growing on me, but okay, this is coming from the most apolitical perspective and coming from my perspective of my own taste of like this is purely selfish. Can we get different ones? Because it's the summer I turned pretty, like all these different ones, they always have these two male characters. Like every single one of them has like this exact setup. And I get a little bit like I just get sad. Like I still watch it, but I get kind of sad because it's just not my taste that much. And yeah, the girls, I was like the main girls, this is her. You'll see every type of girl, redhead, short hair, like every like ethnicity possible. Like you'll get a different male, like a different female lead, but it's the guys that they never change these two men. Like it's always basically some equivalent of this. If you watch The Summer I Turned Pretty, they were like, I don't know, they looked a little different, but Jeremiah and Conrad. This is just basically Conrad again. Like, am I insane? This is like the main guy. This is like you copy pasted Conrad, but like he's like a little different. Like, like he's like Play-Doh when you kind of shape some stuff, but this is literally just Conrad. And it just really irks me. And I was saying that in this show, okay, this is just my appeal for my own personal taste. This guy works at the motel, and when I saw him, I was like, he's so cute. Put him as the male lead. Why can't we have two brothers that look like him? And again, this is not even coming from a place of politics. This is coming from just like, I just want to see men I'm attracted to, like 100%. And not to say that these men aren't attractive. Again, they are growing on me. I'm liking them more. But when I saw them, I'm not going to lie, my face did drop. Because I was like, not this again. I already got this with The Summer I Turned Pretty. This is for the real like rom-com girl stands. I started to try to watch Off Campus, but I didn't even get into it because the male lead is just not my taste. He's just not my taste. And it's like they always put these guys and I'm like, not just for me, just for the sake of my taste, can you please put a guy that's my taste as like the male guy? And yeah, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of always getting this set up, this duo. It's so boring. It's always these two freaking men. Even if it's not these two men, it's always these two men. So yeah, that was basically, I did a lot of important stuff, such as getting my metrics set up, but apparently none of that was important. So it's fine. But yeah, anyways, this is just like my selfish appeal because this is like to basically get guys that like I like as the male leads. For me, it doesn't need to be for anybody else, but for me, please change the male leads a little bit. Okay, that's it. So yeah, so I'm basically gonna be getting my metrics in now. I'm just gonna copy paste them, and that's gonna take probably a few hours. All right, I want to show a place where I'm struggling as an amateur right now, like really struggling. I'm a little confused. So this model has really been kind of kicking me in the butt. This is my recurrent excitation model. So it's basically, I don't know, I'm having an off day, so I'm kind of struggling to explain things, but it's kind of like how well the model is able to sort of connect to other memories by lighting up other neurons, or basically replay the memory itself. They're kind of my sharp wave ripples, and they're basically the core of what I was studying. This is actually this one right here. This is like my first, like the first part of my theory, like the more important part and everything. So it's a really important one. I'm actually really struggling with it though, because I had a lot of different struggles with this one. It's harder to make something sparsely coded than densely coded, and you can just run into more issues. Basically, densely coded neurons I mentioned in my last video, they're kind of like negative ones and ones. Sparsely coded ones are zeros and ones. And I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but something about zeros and ones makes it the model more excitable, or like it's more likely to light up other neurons. Unfortunately, this one's actually more realistic to how a brain works. So there was many different reasons why I decided to ended up sparsely coding this one. But the struggle is that, well, it's a struggle. It's just hard, and it isn't as clean as my other model. It was harder to even feel like I got it to operate correctly, and I'm always kind of having some issues with it. Yeah, it's just a really difficult one. So I just have been struggling essentially. And yeah, I ended up, even though it was still messy, I ended up accepting some mess because I thought that it still demonstrated something a little bit about how, well, I thought maybe it was realistic, and trauma brains are really messy anyways, and it's not, everybody doesn't develop like this really clean amnesia per se. Like also there are other kind of different, people sort of have like disorganized kind of thought processes and all these different things. So I was like, okay, I think it's actually okay for there to be messiness. My problem is that the messiness starts way earlier than, and it's just like a little bit stronger, I would say, than my normal model, like my density coded model. So it's really kind of tough because as an amateur, as a beginner, like I don't really have all the information to know, like, I don't know, I kind of should probably talk to my supervisor. I need to email him. I haven't spoken to him in a while. It's kind of hard because my supervisor and I meet through Zoom. I haven't even met him in person yet. We just meet through Zoom remotely, and our meetings are only 30 minutes long usually. So I'm usually kind of giving like some updates, and then he gives me suggestions. Obviously I'm not a computational neuroscience student, and I'm a master's student and everything, so I'm already honestly happy to get what I get. And I could meet him more, but I don't know. I feel a little bit vulnerable being like, can you look over, like, I don't know. It's like a little bit, I don't know, right? It's like, it's kind of like into the details, and I feel a little bit insecure about that, I guess, of like asking him to spend that time, but I should anyways. But anyways, so I've been a little bit struggling with that, and I did show him that model, and we fixed a little something when it was actually showing kind of like the graphics, I guess, of it, like this graph. And it seemed like it was actually working really, really well. Now, I basically just started running the metrics, and I was a little bit confused because the recall success was so low already from the beginning. And I was a little bit surprised to see that and a little bit confused. I think this one gives a better picture though, because it is still kind of Wait, no, actually it's not even, because I think at one it's this one is just really tough. It's a really tough one, and there's been a lot of complicated stuff to think about with it, just overall anyways. This was when it ran like really well, and it was accidentally because I got Claude to Claude rewrote my code from my density coded model, but then once it went up to 0.1, it like killed so it wasn't right, but that's because I didn't have it based on my actual model that I had to like troubleshoot a bunch. It was based on something else. So this one has just been really hard. But let me see. So this basically is supposed to show, which one is it? It's called retrieval dominant. This was when it was running really well. The retrieval was at 0.967. So this is what's interesting is that it did tend to lean towards the stored pattern. However, the success rate of actually getting it recalled was low. Was this a 0 point? Is this a no ACH as well? That's what's kind of bugging me is like it shouldn't be that low at no acetylcholine. That's what's really getting me right now. The recall success should be like really high up. So I asked Claude because I was like, I'm really confused right now. It shouldn't be that low. And it's not, it doesn't even, it's when you actually just look at the individual one, it's not that low. Like, let me set it to 0 acetylcholine here. This thing has been really hard. Like, it's a really hard project. And it's really actually, I thought this was gonna be, I don't know, this is a really hard beginner project too. There's a lot going on. There was like a lot to learn, and it's really hard to not have the expertise. In theory, it's not really that hard, but the sparsely coding one, like the sparsely coded model is really hard because there's like a lot, I don't know, there's a lot going on to that, and it just is more complex. You can see here, so it did lean like match to stored, so it 100% remembered everything perfectly here. Here was at 80% recalled, so okay. And then here it was so it basically remembered everything perfectly except for one pattern, like it didn't remember as well. So I'm just incredibly confused, and I know that this one it's running 50 times, but it doesn't super make sense for it to be at such a low amount. It just doesn't make sense. This one is really annoying. I got, I'm gonna show what Claude said in a second, but, and I know, okay, I know essentially that like what's basically happening with these metrics is that it's basically generating a brand new like seed each time for me. So it's basically making like it's as if the experiment was run with like totally different pattern again. Even so, I don't think that it makes sense for it to be so different. And that's what's really confusing me. I'm like, this doesn't make any type of sense. How is it so low? I just don't understand. This is really annoying. And I just keep having a lot of like doubt and insecurity about this project of like, maybe I don't understand things as well as I think that I do. And maybe this is like, I don't know, but I'm so far in that like I have to finish and I need to email my supervisor. I do need to meet him. I just haven't met him because I didn't have anything new to say, but I asked what would so it basically I asked it to make this like this graph for me. And this is what's also confusing me is that based on the metrics there, it doesn't look as clean as the one that I got before. I just wish that I knew how to code better so much. I don't really, again, I don't really like working with chat with AI this way because it's just too much. Like I really just want to have more expertise, but like I'm just too far in. Do you see how this is really nice? And then this one is different. I wouldn't mind it being different too much because it's still like the essence is still the same. But this is a big like I don't know, it's such a wide like thing here. Like a big range. And that just seems a little bit suspicious. So how would a top I meant neuroscientist, computational neuroscientist see that model. I just wanted like perspective. I was like, is that bad? Maybe I'm thinking that's bad and it's not. The qualitative result is sound. It's okay. AI, AI is going to mirror back to you, so I don't want that, but this is what it said. So the qualitative result is sound. It's implementing a real respected theory. The structure of the suppression, whatever, is Michael Hoselmo's account of acetylcholine gating the cortex between encoding mode and retrieval mode. The clean crossover in your graph, so retrieval dominant low acetylcholine and then encoding dominant high acetylcholine, is exactly the phenomenon that theory predicts. An expert would say the central effect is there and it's the right shape. So that's good. And then I asked about those wide bands. It says, my network is small and I'm drawing fresh random patterns each trial. So there's finite size variance and would report the distribution rather than hide it behind a mean and a standard deviation. Variance is data. But the concerning part is your load is A equals P over N equals 0.06. That's confusing. I don't understand that a lot, so I need to understand that, which is far below any sensible capacity limit. A load at that trivial, a well-tuned sparse associative memory should recall almost perfectly. So I'm not getting 100%, but I think if that means what I think that it means, it's like, yeah, I should be getting 100%. So the recall being at that low with that much spurious stuff is a signal that something in the dynamics is suboptimal. Me and this model have had beef. We've had a lot of beef. I did a lot of troubleshooting on this one. I'm going to put the video up here where I was troubleshooting this one and just having the worst time ever. And that was only one bit. I troubleshot this for like days and days and had so many issues. It was so annoying. And I played around with like the LOM. I played around with a bunch of different stuff and I was not having a good time. But at the end, I was like, you know what? I think the messiness is okay. But the messiness was okay at the degree that I had it like in that seed where I was like, okay, it's not perfectly recalling, but it's like mostly perfectly and it's mostly accurate. But it's like, it feels like it's a little bit too much that I'm confused right now. If your goal was a clean capacity, so this is what an expert would do. I don't understand any of it's saying bump up the neurons. This is what I'm concerned about is that I already got all of the metrics from my other model that like getting the numbers from those took me so long and I had the number at that amount for that one. And maybe it's okay for my other one to have more neurons, but it feels a little bit like they should be at the same amount. So it kind of hurts me to be like one's at 150 and one's at like 200 or whatever. It's like a little bit like annoying. And then I do have to run my combo experiment too. I also already got the metrics for the other one. And it's already the end of June and this project is due in like mid-August. And it just like it kills me because like let me show my hard work. This took me like so long to get all this in my yeah, this is time to just speak to my supervisor because I have no clue. I'm just confused because it seemed like it ran fine. Do you see this though? This took me a really long time, actually, and I don't want to do this again. However, I don't know, it's like a little bit hard to say, but it wouldn't hurt and to see if maybe it helps. What really annoys me is like how can this is just a lot right now. I think like I don't think I can finish this right now without speaking to my supervisor again. I think this is time to like call in the big guns to be honest, because like this is really hard. I think in the meantime, I'm gonna try to understand like the math that I was reading in my book. Okay. This is what it's saying is that runs don't pile up at 87%. They split into two groups. So a nailed it pile at 100% and an overactivated pile at around 80 to 90%. And the mean of 87% sits in the empty valley between them, describing no actual run. That's why the mean looks alarmingly low to you. It's a wrong summary statistic for a two-hump distribution. The median is 89%, and the top quartile is a full 100%. This is exactly why your eyeballing said nearly perfect. When you ran it a few times, you kept hitting the 100% mode, and it happens 39% of the time. And a seed 42, seed 42 specifically gave you 2 out of 3 patterns at exactly 100%, which is slightly above the 1.2 out of 3 you'd expect on average. So about 4 in 10 recalls are flawless, and the rest are like almost right but not there. Okay, that's a different story. That's not as bad, but that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, that just didn't seem right, and I'm like confused. This is a lot to kind of wrap my head around, and sometimes I feel dumb about it, and I'm like, I should know this, but it's like, how can I magically know it? I'm teaching myself, and it's hard stuff, TBH. To learn on the fly. So yeah. So the most useful thing you could do with this, stop reporting the mean alone and report the distribution. I already tried the LOM. I think it's pronounced LOM, lamb, LOM, at many different levels, and it didn't work to put it higher at all. So that's not the right solution, which I know because I already did it. It thinks that, but it didn't happen like that. Because it started to like make things like harder. I don't know. It just like it wasn't working. I did try increasing the long unless I try to like just micro increase it like by 0.001 or I don't know, something crazy like that. I don't know, but it was like when I was trying it like 0.1, 2, 3, 4, like it just wasn't the right solution. And I did try that for hours. Like it took me a very long time. That's what I was doing in that video. So it's just that's what's going on. Maybe I could also it's a little bit much. I was gonna say I could make the metric so it's like what percentage of the time was it 100%? What percentage of the time was it like 2 out of 3? But then it gets a little bit messy about like how I want to report that. But I think that actually isn't that bad. Maybe I could do that. Well, wait, let me ask it that first. This model, like, this is the one that's driving me insane. And to me, it doesn't even seem like, in theory, it should be that hard. It doesn't seem like it should be this difficult, but for some reason, it's like really difficult. I need to understand, I want to fully understand, like, why is this so difficult? Why is this so difficult for my model? What's making this so incredibly difficult? Okay, so Claude liked my idea. So this actually, Claude ran it immediately. I'm still not liking this outcome that much. At the way this is, it should never ever be 0 out of 3 perfect. Feels a little bit insane. Feels a little bit low. So this one drives me insane. I've been having so many issues with this one, and I'm just like, this is insane. Like, why? And I just want to finish this so bad, and this is so hard. God, this is actually no. I think this is really time to talk to my supervisor, and like, I'm gonna take a break and do more learning.
It's a few days later. I just put it to the side and gave up for now with everything I'm doing, but I'm starting to get nervous because it's almost July. This paper is due in mid-August. This is already taking longer than expected. And I'm starting to get wary of time because I still have to finish like my combo experiment and all this different stuff. I think once I fix that, my combo experiment will run better anyways. But I'm not gonna lie, it's been making me pretty nervous. I'm having a little bit of a mental freak out, I think, because I learned Hot Field Network like math on my trip to Brazil, And then I was like, okay, this is like, I get it. Like, this makes sense. I understand how this is working. And then when I went to learn it, there was things that like, there was like little, I hate when stuff, I mean, the book was great, okay, but people do this a lot in math. And this was always like my irritation, where they skipped steps. And it was probably for the sake of the book, but, or it could have just been how like the fact that I'm learning it through a book or lack of understanding. But I was like, what are the inputs? And I don't know, there's just different things. I was like, wait, this wasn't like, even though I'm getting it abstractly, like this wasn't, I'm still struggling. And my experiment is like weird right now. And I think I'm just a little bit freaked out because it's getting to the part where I need math. I need to do my statistics. I need to figure out like this math, at least just a little bit, just so I can figure out why certain things are happening. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm placing that expectation on myself, but I wanna say why one effect is happening. And I'm just, I'm just getting in that headspace of like, you can't do this. Like, this is like, you're not gonna be able to do this. This is beyond your scope. What if you can't? Like, I'm like, I'm having a little bit of like a freak out, but it's like I've been trying to tell myself that I can't, because it's way too far in, and it just feels funny to be having this freak out when it's like I literally have numbers and stuff. My models are built already, like in essence, there's just like troubleshooting issues, so I need to fix them. And it's just like it's just too late in the game for me to be having this panic. And yeah, so I used to send messages back to my past self, and she would ask for messages from the future. And sometimes it's helpful because I feel like it helps me wrap my head around how far I've come. So I want to send one to my past self. And is this project going to get done? Yeah. Can I build how am I going to build a computational model? You already built it yourself. And then there's past me who's like, there's just zero way that I'd ever learn neuroscience. Well, you learned it, and you learned it to a detailed and complex enough level to make a theory. So obviously, like, you're not gonna, like, you're good at this to a degree. I'm not gonna have the follow through. I'm not gonna have the dedication. Well, here we are over a year later, still working on it. So I do have to follow through the dedication. So that means there must be a future me looking back at me and saying, like, you do have the math skills. I don't even need that much math skills, like, at all. I don't know why I'm thinking that way, but I think I'm just nervous because I was looking at my numbers this morning and I was like, how do I analyze this, like, statistically speaking? And I didn't really know the answer to that question so far. It's not like the statistics it's not like the statistics that we learned in our stats class that much. I mean, it is to a degree, but it's like these like spreads of numbers and these big ranges of numbers. So it's like it doesn't I'm having a little bit of a struggle moment. Like, let me show it. I'm just having a struggle moment right now. I'm also looking at this in annoyance and like, do I need to pull this up to like a certain amount of, should I make the pattern bigger? Like, does this need to have more neurons? I don't know. You know what should tell me everything about whether this is going to get done? I'm thinking back to a friend from college, and I have not seen this person in years because we just parted ways, and there was issues, but like we just didn't talk for a very long time. Not issues with me, issues and other issues. And yeah, and I'm like, but we were very close, and I'm like, imagine the jump, imagine the time jump of like this person did not like this was nothing to do with what I was doing at all. And I'm just seeing it through their eyes of like, this is so freaking random because this is not what I was in college. So I'm like, obviously this means that like this must be good or something. Like, not good, but like, okay, like I did this. This was not me. So I think it's gonna be okay. But what I'm saying is I'm just looking at this and just being like, For example, it wouldn't be that accurate to get like what's like well, actually, you know what? Getting a median of like certain ones actually isn't really a bad idea for certain like metrics, because maybe that'll show like what is the cross off point where it's like, okay, this is where it started to like really lose them, or stuff like that. Okay, let's make a list. This is all going to be run in RStudio. So I think the big thing that we want to show is like that crossover point just across the board on all of them. See, it's not that hard. Like once you get your confidence up, it's like, okay, it's not we make it harder than it needs to be sometimes. That crossover point, that's probably like the important part. I don't know, or like an important part, and I could probably show that by getting like some kind of like it's like it's brewing. It's brewing, so I'm gonna let that brew. I need to represent that, and the fact that there's a certain place where like there's like a threshold where after that point what it like this is actually not for this one that I'm looking at, but it starts to like, okay, we'll think about that. There's definitely going to be one for this model though. This pattern separation one is definitely going to have that for this bias situation. It's going up. That at some point it starts to actually the net. You know what there's like, it's kind of hard. I feel like I'm doing like, I always think of like the Spock like chess game, not Spock, the Star Trek chess game where they're playing 3D chess. I kind of feel like I'm playing 3D chess right now in my head, because I'm representing like there's like a spread going on here, and then there's like a lot going on in this spread of different things. Like, okay, at some point in time with these, it's like the net sum is going down, but like further and further and higher, but for like more acetylcholine amounts. And this is where I'm getting confused, because I'm like, do I represent like, oh, this is how it is? And can I do some kind of statistics thing to see like, this is another question. I'm just trying to remind myself, like, maybe this is hard because it's hard and not because like I suck, It's like, this is probably actually just a genuinely hard thing to do, and it's a hard beginner project to do for like a multitude of different reasons. This is really hard, to be honest, and like it's kind of fair to struggle. I think the thing with computational neuroscience is there's not much of an expectation to do things like means and medians and stuff like that. Like, I'm gonna show an example. I'm dying to talk to my supervisor. I emailed him yesterday, so hopefully he responds soon. I'm seeing my other supervisor. I have a second supervisor who I've not like, he was super nice and basically just agreed to let me be like, he's like a I don't want to say a stand-in supervisor, but he like, I kind of sold it as like, you don't really have to do anything, because I kind of just needed like somebody from my department. So he agreed, and he was the one who actually referred me to like my current supervisor, who I have met like a few times. So I'm actually meeting him in person. The supervisor who showed me that other person, I'm meeting him in person for the first time next week. Just meeting him in general. We actually never even did a Zoom meeting or anything like that. So I'm actually really excited because I really respect his work a lot, and I'm actually going to try to cite it as well. So, okay, this is just a random one. Like, let's see the results section that they do. They don't really do, like, this is what I'm saying. Like, maybe that's just not an expectation I need to have of myself. Like, maybe just a little bit, but not that much, because you see, I'm so grateful because you don't really need to do as much statistics in computational neuroscience, and it actually makes me so happy because I hate statistics. I don't like statistics that much. I'm gonna get better at it, but right now I hate statistics. I'm very curious as well how this is a thing though, is that this is my master's dissertation, and I do want to show like that I don't know who's gonna grade this, and I'm just like, what if I don't know. It's like, what if I just want to make sure that they know that I did everything that I was meant to. Okay, you see how there's not really like any statistics in this whole entire thing. They just have a bunch of different pictures, like not pictures, like graphics. So I think that that's probably a okay way to go. But then I might do a little like I still want to use these numbers in some way, shape, or form. So I could have a think about that, but I think that I don't need to do much in terms of stats. Like, let me show another one. This is a way more complex one that I'm doing. This is like really like real stuff. And these are the results. And they're more complex than me. So they talk about the different things that they're talking about, these equations they modified. But you see they have a lot of graphics. I think it'll be more intuitive than I think. And I think that I can honestly just jump into starting to write this. I don't think I need like statistics to the degree that I'm scared that I need, because I'm just looking at these and I'm like, how do I represent, like, there's so much going on actually within these models. And I think it would be good to have like these ACH amounts and like just lots of graphics, right? Like lots of different graphics, like as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like up and down, like that would be probably like the best way to go. That's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna pull up like one more. I'm just trying to figure out like I was saying, who's gonna grade this? Should I write something to tell them like normally this is basically how these experiments go, like please don't grade me lower because I'm not showing you like the mean, median, and mode. I don't know. Maybe I could have my supervisor write some. I don't know actually, because it's like a little bit tough because I just really just chose to do this for some reason. Okay, this wasn't a very good example, but they didn't have, you see, they don't have any kind of like, what's the median of our like range? Like that doesn't really translate that well. So I think that will hopefully make it easier, because I just really want to get a move on. I have many different people coming to visit me next month, and then I'm moving in August. I have a trip, like I have a lot going on. And I'm just like, I'm getting really nervous because this was supposed to, I was like, I'll be done months early. Like, this is great. And it's like, I'm not done months early at all. Like, this is going to be, I'm starting to get like, I'm just starting to feel pressed for time right now. So yeah. Yeah, they also do not talk about. I think graphics is going to be like my big thing. Like, if I can have good graphics and maybe a full page like this, I still think I can do that in R as well, because again, I'm trying to get a balance between like, okay, this is my assignment for my master's degree, and like they probably want to see that I'm doing things that I'm supposed to do for, like, that like I learned what I was supposed to learn this year. And then also like this is my own thing. Okay, look, here they have a really simple one, a 53% decrease in X. Okay, I could talk about stuff like at the crossover point. Like I'm not even wrapping my head around the concept right now, but it's like how much like what percentage more or less than like baseline was it? I don't know. It's like X% more recurrence, and that induced like X% more loss in bits, something like that. I think that's very simple, and I think that will go well. I think that will make sense. Let's see if we can. This whole thing has been just me reading so many papers and then just emulating so much, and I think that's one of the places where I learned the most, is just looking at what other people are doing and just being like, let me just do that exact thing. Oh, that's a good one to actually say, is like how much did it vary as well? Like, I guess what was like the spread in that sense of like how much did it change? Like from the control, I guess is the proper word. I was thinking this, I was like, is there a certain percentage? This is like, actually, I'm very curious, that it like increases or decreases over time in like a measured way. with every bit of recurrence, like, inhibited, like, X percentage was, like, I don't know, forgotten or something. Like, there's, like, is it, like, consistent or is it not? And then I want to talk about how there's, like, a point where, actually, this is a very chaotic list right now, but I'm gonna come back to that. There's certain points where things start to break down. So for the pattern separation one, there's a point where it's not even encoding properly anymore. So what's that point? So these are the points that I think are, like, important to mention. The other question I had for pattern separation, I have this question for pattern separation too. I can't believe I'm gonna write something like this soon. It's gonna be pretty weird. I'm gonna remind myself that, like, I know my project inside out, sort of. So sort of. So I feel like I think, like, this, when I look at this, I'm like, what's happening? But when I write my own experiment, like, I can speak like this a little bit for my own experiment. So I think that I'll still do okay. But I'm just looking at this and I'm like, oh my God, what are they saying? I think I can do this. I think I can. I think I can is, like, my model actually for this whole project, because I was reading the, what's it called? The Little Engine That Could at the beginning of this, when I first started this project. I read The Little Engine That Could. And I had no, like, I didn't know anything about, like, anything. I was nannying and I read The Little Engine That Could to the girl that I was nannying. And it was genuinely such an inspirational moment for me, even though it's a kid's book, because it was talking about, like, the whole point of the book is that these toys need to get across the hill. And they're asking, like, they ask the big engine. He's like, are you joking? Like, I'm a really big engine. Like, I don't have time for all that. And then they ask, like, the really fancy engine. The fancy engine's like, I've pulled, like, countless more fancy toys than you, and that would never be something that I do. Like, they were just basically hating at every point. And then the old engine was like, I'm too old. I've already done too much. But then the Little Engine That Could is like, I've never done this before, but I'm just gonna have, like, a positive mentality and just say that I think I can, and I'm just gonna try because I want to help you. And then it was actually a girl. She went the whole way over the mountain saying, I think I can. And then she got to the other side, obviously with the toys is the point of the book. But that really inspired me back then, because I was just reading all those papers at that point about the trauma model and, like, all these different kind of controversies about dissociation. And I was just like, it feels like nobody's helping. And I was like, I feel like people aren't looking into it more because it's controversial. So it's like, well, that wouldn't be, like, the best use of time. Or, I just feel like people kind of, maybe they weren't, but I felt like people were giving up on it and giving up on people with dissociative disorders. Like, it kind of felt that way for me, I think, because it was personal and was struggling with, like, dissociative, like, amnesia and stuff like that. And so for me, I was like, I felt a little bit like people were giving up on it. And so that really inspired me. I was like, I need to be in the Little Engine That Could energy and be like, okay, I'm not the biggest. I'm not the one with the most experience. I'm not, like, I don't feel like I'm the smartest. I don't feel like this and that, but, like, I'm just going to do my best the whole way through. And it has taken a lot of me motivating myself to get from beginning to end of this project, affirming to myself, telling myself, like, you're smart, you can do this, you're going to do this, you're going to get it done. Like, just really being in a positive mentality, even when I don't feel like I can do it. Like, you see, I didn't feel like I could do this. And I was like, okay, no, we have to, like, rally the troops. We have to see, like, what can we do? And we have to get it done. Like, there's just, like, that's the goal of the year. Is, like, you just have to get this paper done. And I've been really surprised at myself and inspired by my own self of, like, okay, wait, I actually did do this. And we're getting to the end and it's like, it's almost done. So yeah, that actually inspired me so much back then. I was like, everybody else feels, in my heart, it feels like people are giving up on people with dissociative disorders, but it's like, I can't do it. Like, I can't give up. I have to be, like, I have to do it. You know what I mean? So yeah, anyways, so I just have to keep being in that energy of like, I think I can, and I'm gonna do it. So I'm just gonna really rapid fire just write some more words that I see. If you ever see these exact phrases in my future paper, because my future paper is gonna exist, this is where I got it from. Because we will be emulating. Okay, we're gonna sound like a scientist in this. So I was laughing to myself the other day that finishing this project, it kind of feels like, you know, those people that it's like they give birth in like a toilet. I don't know, like it's the fact that I'm in a conversion psychology degree program and I was just like, yes, this is gonna get done. Not that my program is a toilet. It's not even about toilet. It's more like, you know, like a taxi or something where it's like, what? This is like the most inappropriate place ever to do this, but it's like, well, this is where it's happening, I guess, because this is when it was ready and this is when it was done. But it's like you just gotta. Okay, here's like this is actually helpful. So additional simulations were carried out to support the existence of robustness of this. I might say that like I'm gonna say I could honestly, I think, just keep my numbers, keep those patterns, and then I could say like additional simulations were carried out at like X number of patterns. And like what was the difference? I'm gonna see what my supervisor would say about that, but I think that's probably like that might be okay because it took me hours to get all those numbers. I don't know, but maybe I don't know. We'll see. Okay, I'll do more of this later, but I think I want to get my normal job done right now. But what I basically just did is I just went through and I found different like like sentence structures that will probably be good for me to emulate. So the average change, the window width compatible with data, increases efficiently. The model also simulates and generate relatively low elevations of, to simulate A, okay. You see, so I just wrote like a little list of like, okay, this is what people say. I saw that they did find a standard deviation. They talked about the basin of attraction. They illustrated that for 15 simulations, the state was blank. So I basically just went through and did that myself. And I might do that actually, like maybe I'll look at another paper later and find like some more. But I think that'll be the way I go through because I also want this to sound professional for my field because I want to publish this, like still my goal. And I've gotten this far. I think like I believe in myself. I think I can do it. So I need to sound like field appropriate. So yeah. Okay. That made me feel a lot better. I think I am going to end this video here probably. But yeah, I'm getting really nervous, but I think I can do it. I think I can do it. I think I need to be in my like I think I can energy and just keep on going and just believe in myself and like I can do this. I can get across the finish line after I've already made it this far. Like I think I can make it across the finish line and I literally need to if I don't want to fail my master's degree program. So yeah.